So hello and welcome to the Glacé Film Club. We're back for 2020. I'm joined by Matt today.
Hello.
He's been absent from the Glacé Film Club for a while, but he's ready. He's been watching some films. He wants to chat about them with me.
Absolutely.
And we will do. This year we're going to hit some new blockbusters, some classic films, and we've got some great ones lined up today that we're going to chat about. But as you've probably noticed by the fact you're actually watching a video, this podcast is the first time we've actually filmed the podcast. The game up. Shout out and thank you to the Beer School, our good friends here who've let us use the Teachers' Lounge.
Nice little sign up there for them.
There we go.
Check it out.
Beautiful little setup. Loving these chairs.
Yeah.
Even comfier as we're chatting about our films, and we're going to get through them and get into some details, cover some main topics. We've got cinematography, we've got themes. We'll get through it all so you know exactly what we think about the films that we're chatting about. The one that we've got for you today is Blockbuster 1917.
Yes, fantastic film.
It won the Golden Globe for the best film, been nominated for the BAFTA, it's been nominated for the Oscar as well.
Indeed it has.
We're going to dive into it and see whether we think it deserves it. But before we get started, we've got two lovely beers sat in front of us, courtesy of Shindig Brewery. We are a big fan of that one. This is the Session Ale.
It's a nice colour. I think it's going to be very enjoyable for this review.
Yeah, so before we get going, now we've got to look at camera as we're doing it.
Yeah.
Eye contact with the camera. Cheers!
Oh, yeah.
Delightful.
That's very nice.
You know what that makes me want to do? Debate 1917.
Absolutely, yeah. 100%. I'm ready to.
Cool. Do you want to put a timer on your watch? We're aiming to hit 15 minutes on this.
I don't know how you do timers.
You know, if you've
watches.
listened to early episodes of this, we've run into the hours and we've really tried to cut it down. But now we've got the stopwatch going.
How do you stop and start the stopwatch?
Great production.
There we go. Right, I've got it. Okay. Fixed it. Right, tell me when.
Take it away. First topic, Matt. What are we discussing about 1917?
So first topic's going to be cinematography.
Cinematography. So quick overview before we go. 1917, directed by Sam Mendes.
Yes.
World War I epic set in 1917.
As the title suggests.
Two main characters got to take a message to the front line.
Yeah.
They've got to do it in about 8 hours, get across no man's land. It's all going to kick off. Tense, high drama, madness.
Absolutely.
But it's been lauded for its epic production and cinematography and done in a weird style. Initially, what were your views of the cinematography? What stood out to you about it?
Well, what more can be said? So, cinematographer Roger Deakins was the brainchild behind this move. The one shot, I think the one shot has been done in modern cinema.
Describe that. What is the one shot technique?
So it's the way of you compile a series of shots together to make it like one continuous take. Any professional cinematographer out there will know that's a logistical impossibility. It can't be done. It's just done through clever editing, matching shots cleverly in post, and this did a fantastic job of hiding those seams.
That baffled me at first when I heard them in an interview saying, right, we're doing this one-shot technique. And I'd heard it mentioned in other films, and like you said, it is used in other ones, like Birdman quite recently famously did it. But someone who's not as savvy on the technical side as I am was like, how does this make sense? And as you watch the film, it does feel like the full flow through it.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought they really stepped up the game with it this time around. With the likes of Birdman, though it was done fantastically, it was all still just using one kind of location, which was a city centre. With this, they went from going through grass terrain to mud to trenches to jumping off bridges into rivers, down a river, and to do it so beautifully, but then to use such wide variety of terrain, and the amount of equipment they had to use to even do it is mind-boggling. Like, it went from like cranes to handheld to be off the back of cars to off the back of motorcycles. It's fantastic.
Well, when I was watching the behind the scenes of it, it was showing, like, for example, there's one shot where he's running through no man's land. He's trying to get to the other side of the trench as they're all going over the top, and it comes out on a crane, and then they had 2 extras who were the grips, but they were dressed in uniform, and they kind of run over, come around the back, pick it off the crane and pass it. Like, there's some ridiculous like that. But,
and they got paid to be extras that day, so I'm sure they were happy.
Extra bit of money, it's always nice, isn't it? But for me, what you were saying with that kind of continuous shot, and the fact that there was not more than one location repeated, that made it not just a drama, but an adventure film as well. I had a feeling, I know it's a weird comparison, but something from like the 70s when you go and like watching like Tarzan or something like the Never-Ending Stories. That feel of like you are going from different place to place to place, and you don't know what's around the corner.
Yeah.
And the kind of course, the plot's important, but you are kind of on edge because you don't know what's coming next, and that continuous kind of glide through all these different locations kind of kept you into.
I feel like in terms of like what that helped to represent within the film itself, I think it really tied into the nature of the war. Like, at the time, this war felt like it was never going to end. It seemed like it was going to go on forever, and I think it helped to put the audience viewing the film through the eyes of the people that were living it. Like, if any other like standard Hollywood war film, it's cut, spread over the course of maybe a week or something. This was meant to be like, imagine you are this person just walking through the trenches, and that's the wonder of the one shot. It really helped.
Absolutely. It does kind of keep you glued to the characters as well, because it followed them intensely all the way through, and kind of gave you that like normal person's regular kind of feel of it without feeling kind of above the war. You were within it all the way through.
Yeah, and like Roger Deakins, his work on it was amazing, and the camera he chose to use, the Arri Alexa LF.
Well, he said this was kind of new like tech development, wasn't it? It was a bit smaller, but it still had the abilities of
absolutely. And Arri kind of like rushed through the development of the LF Mini, so Roger Deakins could try that. He could try the LF.
Okay.
And it needed to be small, just due to the fact that they were swinging it here, there, and everywhere. Like, you could have done it with anything bigger.
Like in the trench, like physically being in the trenches as well. Yeah, definitely. You're right there. Anything else you want to add on cinematography before we move on to
just in terms of lighting. If you look at the lighting all the way through, they had to use natural lighting. They didn't have the opportunity to be putting massive lighting rigs up to light this stuff. So they had to film all on cloudy days, so they didn't have any issues with shadows and things. And I think that's a massive props to the Arri Alexa that it was able to pull out and record in such high detail that in post, even without professional lighting setups, they're able to make it look like a cinematic masterpiece.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right there. Fantastic. Cinematography, big production, doing it in different ways, but it allowed it to give this quite unique look.
Yeah.
Okay, what are we chatting about next?
Chatting about next is going to be acting. As what a lot of films centre around, really.
Yes. So, as you'll realise, as I keep chatting to you about different films, I'm terrible at remembering names of actors, directors, different people involved with it. So I'm going to call them the two main guys that were in it.
Yeah.
What fascinated me from watching the different interviews was how the director, Sam Mendes, there you go, there's a name I remembered, said that he wanted 2 relatively unknown actors. Yeah. And this comes back to, tying back to that feeling of the kind of a more normal experience and that kind of grittier rather than kind of bigging it up like a maybe war epic might do and kind of over dramatising the kind of not so real elements of it. I think the fact that you saw these 2 guys, and Sam Mendes described the lead actor as he had an old-fashioned quality to him.
Yeah,
and he did, he felt like that, a bit of a throwback. And that allowed you to connect with them, but it gave the story a bit more of that grit and also threw it back to that age. And I remember him chatting about saying that they had accent lessons. Dialect coach was giving them coaching, not on the specific accent of the place, so like southern England, but from that time. It's not something I really considered before. You think of that as like a period drama or something, but something that's obviously in the 20th century, there's still different words pronounced differently. And I think this all comes back to seeing the cinematography, the acting as well, all hits towards what he was trying to do, was make a very honest, real, kind of pure experience of the story that they were trying to put across.
Yeah, well, it's almost dance-like, I would say. the acting, because it had to be
theatrical, isn't it?
The amount of rehearsals they had to do. I think it's 4 months of rehearsals they did, because it wasn't just a matter of deliver these lines, right, cut, deliver them again, we'll match it and make it do all the wondrous things in the edit. They couldn't do that. They had to build these trenches and these sets the exact length of how long it was going to take them to physically walk and act these scenes. And the amount of choreography in there, like these actors had to remember, where's the camera going to be? Where's he? It was like a dance, and it was beautiful to see.
Yeah, you're right there. And it just still blows my mind thinking what the actors actually had to do in these kind of long 8-minute takes. But I think by doing that, it made them more committed to the role and made them kind of deliver the performance they did. What did you think about the fact that there were some really big name actors in it, but they were only in it in very cameo appearances?
Yeah, I thought it played very nicely. Well, I've kind of been split into two minds about this. One, I think it's nice to see big name actors take a step back and just be more on the sideline for things.
Yeah.
But then there was the point when Benedict Cumberbatch comes in at the end. I thought it kind of took away from it, because I went from seeing these unknown actors, believing these were real life people in the war, to then, oh look, it's Benedict Cumberbatch.
This is what I was just going to say, and this is one of my frustrations, and I think this is absolutely a kind of ploy to win the Oscar. Is that because in the trailer he has a very quotable line, doesn't he, where he says something along the lines of, "Oh, this war is going to be last man standing," which is a beautiful line. It makes sense in the story, but him saying it, I've seen in the like it's cut into the trailer, yet he's hardly in the film. And which is quite cheeky. And it's kind of like using him as a set piece kind of thing, and with the Oscar. And I do agree, and I genuinely believe that has taken away from it. He said, the director Sam Mendes said that he wanted it to be a kind of unknown actors, and it works for the reasons we just said, but I think this kind of cuts it a bit, and it's pandering too much. As much as I can agree that it should be nominated for the Top Awards, this is, for me, doesn't sit quite well.
If you put the belief in unknown actors to portray the two protagonists, put the faith in unknown or smaller name B-C-list actors who just to do those other roles, which are like 4-line roles, really.
But would we start debating it if they weren't in it? Because would it have had as much publicity?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, well, I think the production side, yes, definitely. But that is, for me, massive film, but it has been bigged up, and it's had loads of press behind it. And I feel this is just one of the kind of reasons why. Anyway, I'm not going to let it ruin the film for me. No. It just, it's just been sat, kind of in the back of my mind. Okay, that's acting.
That's acting. We're going to speed through the rest. Plot. We're on 10 minutes so far. Plot. Obviously, we've touched on this in the introduction to the film, how they have to take this message from across no man's land, deliver it. I thought it was very, very interesting to see a film about a war film about stopping war rather than doing war. Is that the right phrase? Facilitating war. I thought it was a great change of pace.
Yeah.
And something I've not seen before. I'm trying to think. You go.
Well, for me, I think with the plot, and I think it was fantastic. But it had all the elements for the first 3/4, if not even more, of the film of classic conventions of a war film.
Yeah.
It had the drama, it had the mission, it had the explosions, it had the tensions, it had the fight scenes. Like, great to see. What you want from a war film, epic. But what was fantastic for me is that could have ended as a kind of glorification. And here's where the spoiler comes in as we get to the end. But it could be a glorification of this mission was completed. Yeah, go Britain, these British soldiers, they achieved it, and it might stop loads of people from dying, everyone's patting each other on the back. But it subverts it at the end by going, oh, this mission's been achieved. And this is the line from Benedict Cumberbatch's character saying, he kind of goes, right, well, we've stopped this, but we're just going to have to go over the top again tomorrow. And the whole film is a massive struggle, which you feel the emotion and journey of it through all the other reasons we've said. But you get to the end, and it's like, all right, well done, pat on the back, you've done all right for now, but this is just going to go again. And that's a comment about that war specifically.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a comment about war in general, and I think it's a comment about war films as well, which glorify this one mission that took place. You think like the Saving Private Ryan kind of like,
Exactly.
you did it, but well, what happens after that? Well, we just go again. You've just put your life on the line, your friends died, all that's happened, and we've just got to this. So for me, I thought the plot was fantastic, and dare I say, one of the best elements of the film was the fact that they nailed that kind of ending as well.
Absolutely. I think to summarise it quickly, I think it was just very believable. Like, you can imagine that happening. There wasn't these obscenely orchestrated fight scenes. It was like the only bits of action. It was real. Like when one of the main protagonists dies, he gets stabbed by the German after they pull him out of the plane. It's not like you saw some dead choreographed fighting between guns and swords.
It just happens. It's like a glance, isn't it?
Well, like you see it through the eyes of the other guy who's looking away from it, who just hears it happen. And that's a great comment on the war in general, that so much of it went unseen. Yet these horrific things happened. And there was nothing that he could do about it.
It's a good scene, and you don't expect it as well, which is it's a good left turn, as they say. But yeah, great. Plot, fantastic.
Okay,
what else are we going to crack through?
This is where you really come into your own here in context and history. So this is...
Pressure on me now for the history degree. But I think this goes back to what I said about the plot and why I do think it was fantastic, because the First World War was known to be like one of the most horrific wars ever, and the fact that it was the trench warfare was that it was just a war of attrition where they're just going over the top, smashing into each other, people are dying, and there's a line in it where they're talking about the tactical retreat that the Germans did and said, we've been fighting and dying over this land for weeks and weeks, why would this withdraw? But that's what happened. People were fighting and dying over inches of land. So they really drive that bit home. I think the historical kind of element of the trenches, I mean, just the set design and that was perfect. But linking in what I was saying about the plot, and the way the whole film's rounded, I think was fantastic and does service to the memory of the war and the history of the war in saying, look, we're not glorifying what happened here. It was this one mission is, it's a kind of glorification of the achievement of this one man and his comrades and all that, but it was horrific, and even though he did that, there was a good chance he was going to die the next day, and there was the link to his family back at home. So I think... for me, the history sits hand in hand with the plot, how they absolutely nailed that by the way the plot and the arc was put together did the history justice. Because for me, it would have been a bit off if it would have been a full glorified kind of, look, this was a horrible war, but look, someone achieved this. So for me, as a historian, dare I say, someone's got a history degree, then it sat perfectly and I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, I felt like it really showed how during the war everyone seemed to be fighting their own battle, whether that be physically or mentally. And it had to take these two characters out of their comrades and say this is their war that they're fighting now. It's separate from everyone else's. And then mentally, like you saw when in the penultimate scene where it's the big charge down the trenches, he has to come out the trench and run alongside of it, and he's looking for the commander and he finds like captains who are like cowering. They're supposed to be these...
I think the extras are fantastic in it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely say that, because they deliver the little bits of history by showing the kind of mental trauma they're going through, and what you were saying to me recently about the diverse cast was showing that people from so many different countries served for the British Army as well, and it's little details like that through the extras which kind of work perfectly, and the fact you see the shots running through the trenches, you see and pick up all these details. So bob on. I think there was a bit, I enjoyed a bit of contextual comedy, is how I like to put it. Obviously we all know this is not, I'm not saying this is a comedy film at all, but there's little bits like when they first get their orders, they're going through the trenches and they have to make their first break over into no man's land. And the captain that they go and meet, well, the captain's unfortunately passed away. He killed the night previous, and I think it's the lieutenant's now taken that step up to that role. And he's like, give him a flare gun, but if you get shot, please try and throw it back because we hate losing these to the Germans. And it showed that even though these people were going through this horrific experience, they tried to keep themselves happy. And like in that same scene, they're like, okay, settle a bet for us. What day is it?
And he's like, oh, we all got that wrong.
Yeah, there are bits like that. And
show that these troops were real people. Like, they were...
Humanises, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Does. Brilliant. Have we got one more topic to cover?
One more personal opinion.
Personal opinion. Do you want to... I'll begin.
Cool, yep.
And then you can round us off afterwards. Like I said, fantastic film. I think the plot brought it all together. Sam Mendes says this was his passion project, and you could really tell that it had a definite drive to it. There was passion in it, and it was definitely not just an action film. There was a message trying to be made, and 100%. I think he nailed that through the writing, nailed it through the production, the fact that, as we've seen with the cinematography, the one shot, and the absolute commitment to the set design as well. I thought this was just all brought together and all contributed to that one big thing of saying at the end of it, look, this was a terrible war. There was maybe one bit of heroism here. And he talks about his medals as well. There's another little bit where you can think about that yourself when you go home tonight. But that all contributed to doing what was quite a beautiful film, not just visually, but also poignant at the end for the message. My little frustration, like I said, was it's definitely made to try and get an Oscar. And fair enough, you know, probably worthy of one, but I just don't like that element of actively trying to get one. So that might have knocked it down a little bit for me. But apart from that, thoroughly enjoyed it. And I'm going to give it, this is tricky, 8.5 out of 10 is my review for 1917.
Lovely.
Round us off.
Yeah, so I'll keep this brief. It's 3 points for you. I think it was a wonderful example of cinema, both in terms of the technical aspects of it, which we've already covered, and through the context of it, and like showing that not over glorifying war, as you mentioned, it made it real. And I feel like that Roger Deakins always wants the viewer to not feel like they're watching something that's been filmed on a camera. They want them to feel like they're watching something real.
Immersive.
Precisely. I think that did that absolutely wonderfully. I didn't feel like the shooting style was gimmicky.
No.
I feel I've seen one shot when it's not worked, and it's a very specific technique, and it has to be used perfectly. It has to be used carefully in the right context. I felt like they did that very nicely.
Absolutely.
And then just going back to my earlier concerns about it. So obviously I mentioned having the big name actors in it. I don't think they were necessary. And I feel like you said, it's helping towards getting that Oscar. My other criticism is I never felt worried for the characters.
Okay.
Because it's a one take. It always has to be following someone. And spoilers if everyone's not seen it, obviously we lose one of the protagonists halfway through, but then it just carries on following the other protagonist. So I didn't feel worried. Like, whether they succeeded or failed, I never felt like, we're going to lose both of these.
Yeah, but I did though at the end though, because I think there was still the jeopardy of the end of whether he was going to fulfil the mission or not. Because I thought they could have quite ended there and just been after all that. That's the ending I saw, was after all that, he didn't even make it and the battle carried on. It kind of had a slight different twist on it, but I thought that. Anyway,
but either way, they still made it all the way to the end.
Yeah.
That was my... I was sat there thinking,
I get you.
At least one of these is going to make it all the way through to the end of this film.
Yeah.
And so for those reasons, again, fantastic piece of cinema, but I think I'll agree. I'll also go 8.5 out of 10. It was wonderful, but it could have... There's a few small changes, and it could have hit that 10 mark for me.
Fantastic. There we have it. Concluded. Absolutely. 1917. We both gave it 8 out of 5 out of 10.
8 out of 5 out of 10.
8.5 out of 10. Maybe that's a new scoring system.
Yeah, 8 out of 5 out of
10. Let us know what you think. I mean, it's going to be up for the Oscars soon. Is it going to win? We'll find out. We thought it was an epic film. Had a good chat about it. We'd love to hear your comments. And we've got plenty more films lined up to discuss through the rest of 2020. I hope you enjoyed seeing us, seeing what we look like. Maybe this has put you off. Maybe it hasn't. Once again, thank you to the Beer School for letting us film in here. And we'll see you once again for another Glacé Film Club review. Cheers.
Cheers.